what I do is when people come to see me as constituents, I have a single sheet of paper that I keep track of the meeting and what we discussed and so on and what actions were to be taken. And I looked at the stack of meeting notes that I had on my desk, and I realized that they've grown to about 2 inches thick in a short year. And looking through those notes, Madam Speaker, I realized one thing. The vast majority of those notes were related to employment issues. The majority of people who come to see me as their representative, Madam Speaker, make that common complaint all too often, that they're having difficulty finding jobs, they're having difficulty making ends meet because their current job doesn't pay well enough. And it's gotten to the point, Madam Speaker, where I do believe that we are suffering from an ill that has to be addressed with extreme determination, or we are going to get caught up in a downward spiral that we will never recover from. We've seen examples of where employment agencies are starting to take on the role of labor brokers, cheap labor brokers, and they seem to be more focused on importing cheap labor for profit than anything else. Madam Speaker, I've known examples, numerous examples, where Caymanians have registered with these labor agencies and have been totally ignored. I've also seen instances where Caymanians will proactively contact an agency and apply for jobs on their own that they've seen the agency advertise, only to be told that the job is a work permit renewal and perhaps they'd be interested in another job. The question I've always asked myself, Madam Speaker, is if immigration is the right agency to be dealing with labor issues. For the most part, they don't have direct access to the issues that come up within the labor market affecting Caymanians. And they're not able to engage the public from a labor point of view because they are obviously working to enforce the immigration laws from a border protection point of view. And they may not have the necessary synergies with the labor agencies and so forth to make the right decisions on work permits. I know this is something that we have worked on in the past year and more, and I think we are getting it right. But traditionally, there has been a concern that the Immigration Department may not have been the best agency for dealing with work permits. Not just from a point of view of being able to stamp a permit and say that there's no Caymanian available for that job, Madam Speaker, but also from a demand and supply point of view. It is important that whoever is approving work permits have access to the demand and supply for labor in the market. The jobs are there. My concern is, are the employers actively trying to hire Caymanians? When I look at the NWDA job list, which I now have access to, I tend to see the same positions over and over and over again. I really don't see an influx of new positions being registered actively. And I think that there are some employers out there who are only paying lip service to our unemployment situation and who say that they may be trying to support and hire Caymanians. But are they making a real effort, Madam Speaker? But I think we are now at the point, Madam Speaker, where we have to make it mandatory for all employment vacancies to be listed with the NWDA. Likewise, I think we're also at the point where we have to insist that unemployed Caymanians also register themselves with the NWDA. That is the only way that this relationship is going to work. In order to help Caymanians, we have to know who they are, who is unemployed, who's having difficulties holding jobs, who needs training, who needs the upskilling to be successful in the marketplace. We can't go about this using guesswork, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've said it before in this Honorable House, and I'll say it again. We have to control the level of imported cheap labor that is coming into this country. It competes directly with the young people who are leaving high school, who are deserving of entry-level positions in the various industries. There is stiff competition now for jobs between our young people and people who are brought in here as an economic relief to some employers. And further down the road, as those individuals, the longer they stay here, some may qualify for permanent residence. And again, that only seeks to make the problem worse. Madam Speaker, as our population of Caymanians expands, so too should our middle class. But lately I have noticed with a lot of concern that we seem to have a disappearing middle class. Madam Speaker, when the middle class disappears into poverty, they take the economy with them. We do not want to end up in a situation where we have the very rich and the very poor. There must be a thriving, successful, healthy middle class to keep this country's economy going. They have to be our most cherished group of Caymanians. So, Madam Speaker, I'm not completely against labor and expertise coming into this country. I know that we can't do it alone. I know that the quickest way to develop and grow an industry is to rely on those who have done it before and who have the experience. But during that time of rapid growth, when Caymanians were able to fit in, they were able to find jobs, things were balanced. Our young people were going away to school, coming back with college degrees, and finding opportunities. Those who didn't were able to get entry-level jobs and work their way up in these corporations. Those were what I refer to as the good old days in the Cayman Islands. But because we were growing and the demand for our services and our tourism experience was high, there was not so much of an issue. And those who came and lived and worked among us enjoyed a symbiotic relationship with us. Madam Speaker, you just have to look in the newspaper at the ads, and you'll see a number of jobs that many years ago were considered entry-level and didn't require so many qualifications. And they're now asking for things like university degrees. And you wonder how this happened. And I'm not crying down the fact that employers are now asking for a higher level of education. In fact, I applaud that, but let's be reasonable. There's no doubt in my mind that in many instances, these things are being used as deterrents so that Caymanians don't apply for these opportunities because the salaries just do not match the requirements. We must invest in education and training. Madam Speaker, we need an education revolution in this country. We can no longer allow our young people to fall by the wayside and people to use the excuse, Madam Speaker, that they're not ready for the workplace, they're unfit, they can't perform. We have to take responsibility for our young people and ensure that they are prepared and ready to take their place in society. We have to stop this vicious cycle, Madam Speaker, the one that is developing between employers and Caymanians, where Caymanians are often angry at the businesses and the businesses feel hamstrung. The government must intervene, and we must resolve these issues with urgency. Speaker, this government is keeping its word. We are making an effort to do what we said we would do for Caymanians in the workplace. But I have to question sometimes if that effort on the other side of the equation is real. And I want to see some real examples of employers going out of their way to work with this government to find the opportunities for our young people. I am tired of looking at that NWDA database and seeing the same employers, the same list of jobs, and it's not growing. What I hope to see is that employers will embrace what is being offered here and that they will do their part in ensuring that our young people and our middle class get back to work, are able to become and remain productive members of society, able to feed their families, live happy, successful lives. We're not asking for the world. We're asking for our people to be given their fair opportunities.